My name is Jessica. I am 26 years old. I drive a Freightliner Cascadia across 34 states for a living, and I have been doing it for 3 years, 7 months, and roughly 410,000 miles. I am recording this from a Love's travel stop off Interstate 81 in Virginia at 10:22 at night. There are about 70 trucks parked in this lot right now. I can hear every single one of them idling through the walls of my sleeper, and I am the only woman in this parking lot. I know that because I walked to the building and back 20 minutes ago, and I counted 0 other women. 0. That is the thing I want to talk to you about tonight. What it actually feels like to lie down in a truck at the end of a 600-mile day and close your eyes knowing that you are the only woman in a parking lot the size of a football field, surrounded by 70 trucks driven by 70 strangers, and that the only thing between you and the outside is a curtain, 2 locked doors, and whatever courage you brought with you from Dayton, Ohio when you were 22 years old and too broke to be afraid. If you watched my first video, you know who I am. If you did not, my name is Jessica. I grew up in Dayton. I got my CDL at 22 because the alternative was $11.50 an hour at a fulfillment center where my feet bled through my socks. And I now make $78,000 a year, sleeping in a metal box the size of a closet 280 nights a year. Subscribe if you want to know what those nights actually look like. Leave a comment if you have ever lain awake listening to sounds you could not identify. I read every single one. I want to start with the truck itself because people have a picture in their head of what a sleeper cab looks like, and the picture is wrong. They think it is a tiny bedroom. It is not a bedroom. It is a coffin with a steering wheel attached. The sleeper berth in a standard Freightliner Cascadia is 80 inches long and 36 inches wide. That is 6 feet 8 inches by 3 feet. My body is 5'6". That gives me 14 inches of space between the top of my head and the back wall. If I stretch my arms out sideways, both hands touch the walls at the same time. If I sit up too fast, I hit the overhead cabinet with my forehead, and I have done this enough times that there is a mark on the cabinet that matches a mark on my forehead, and both of them are permanent. The mattress is a 4-inch foam pad that came with the truck. The original vinyl cover crinkled so loud when I moved that I woke myself up every time I rolled over. I replaced it in my 3rd month with a mattress topper I ordered online and picked up at a Walmart in Joplin, Missouri, because that was where my route took me the day it was delivered. I sleep on that topper and a fitted sheet that I wash at a truck stop laundromat every 5 to 7 days, depending on whether I can find one. The pillow is from a Target in Memphis. It costs $12. It is the best $12 I have ever spent. The ceiling of the sleeper is 28 inches above the mattress. I cannot sit fully upright. I get dressed every morning in a position that is somewhere between a crouch and a prayer. I have pulled on jeans lying flat on my back more times than I can count. I have changed shirts by doing a motion that looks like a slow-motion wrestling move. I have learned to put on a sports bra in a space where my elbows hit both walls, and if you think that is not a skill, you have never tried it. The temperature inside the sleeper is a negotiation between the engine, the outside air, and God. In the summer, I run the truck's APU, which is a small auxiliary power unit that keeps the air conditioning going without idling the main engine. When the APU works, the sleeper stays at about 72 degrees. When the APU does not work, and it does not work about 1 week out of every month because it is a machine that vibrates 10 hours a day on American highways and things break, the sleeper becomes an oven. I have woken up in July in a truck parked in Laredo, Texas, with the interior temperature at 97 degrees and my fitted sheets soaked through and my phone too hot to touch. In the winter, the calculation is different, but the result is the same. The APU runs diesel heat, which is loud and dry and smells faintly like a gas station. When it fails, which it did in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago, I run the main engine for heat, which costs about $30 in fuel per night, and which my accountant, who is me, does not enjoy. On the coldest nights, I have slept in my coat. I have slept in my boots. I have slept with a beanie pulled down over my ears and my hands inside my hoodie sleeves and my breath visible in the air inside my own truck. Nobody films those nights. Nobody puts those nights on social media with a sunset filter and a caption about freedom. I want to tell you about the walk, because the walk is something I think about every single night, and I have never heard another trucker talk about it, male or female. And I think the reason nobody talks about it is because for most drivers, it is nothing. For me, it is the most calculated 4 minutes of my day. The walk is the distance between the truck stop building and my truck. It is usually between 200 and 400 yards, depending on where I parked and how full the lot was when I arrived. During the day, the walk is nothing. It is a parking lot. It is asphalt and painted lines and trucks and sunlight. At night, the walk is something else entirely. At night, the lot is a grid of shadows and diesel exhaust and the red glow of taillights and the spaces between the trucks where the light does not reach. I walk with my keys in my right hand, spread between my fingers the way my mother taught me when I was 14 and walking home from the bus stop on Salem Avenue. I walk with my phone in my left hand, screen on, not because I am looking at it, but because the light makes me visible, and visibility is a calculation I have gone back and forth on. Visible means someone can see me. Visible also means someone cannot pretend they did not see me. I walk fast. I do not run because running in a truck stop parking lot at night draws attention, and attention is another calculation. I walk with purpose. I walk in the lane where the overhead lights are brightest. I do not walk between parked trucks. I walk in the driving lane, even if it is longer, because the driving lane is lit and the spaces between trucks are not. When I reach my truck, I do not stand and fumble with the door. I have the key ready before I get there. I unlock, I climb, I close, I lock. 4 motions. I have done them so many times, they are a single motion now. The way a boxer's jab is not 4 movements, but 1. I learned the walk in my first month. Nobody taught it to me. Nobody had to. Being a woman teaches you the walk before you are old enough to understand why you know it. The truck stop is just a bigger parking lot with a longer distance and higher stakes, and the same lesson my mother pressed into my hand with a set of house keys on a Tuesday evening in Dayton when I was 14 years old and the streetlights were coming on. I have tried to make the sleeper feel like mine. That is a thing women do that I have noticed men do not, or at least not in the same way. The men I have talked to at fuel islands, the ones who are friendly, the ones who have been doing this for 20 or 30 years, they describe their sleeper the way you would describe a motel room. Functional, temporary, a place to close your eyes. I could not live like that. I tried for the first 2 months, and by the end of the second month, I was sitting in a Walmart parking lot in Tulsa, crying into a gas station burrito at 9 p.m. because I felt like I lived nowhere. I felt like I was a ghost who drove during the day and disappeared at night into a space that could have belonged to anyone. So I made it mine. I bought a small battery-powered string of fairy lights and taped them to the ceiling of the sleeper with command strips. I bought a small photo of my mother and Kevin and me, taken at a Sears portrait studio in 2009 when Kevin was 7 and I was 14, and my mother was wearing the blue blouse she wore to church every Easter. I taped it to the wall next to the bunk with a piece of medical tape because command strips did not hold on that surface. I bought a small lavender sachet from a truck stop gift shop in Knoxville and hung it from the overhead cabinet handle because the sleeper smelled like diesel and the previous driver's sweat, and I needed it to smell like something that was not a man. These are small things, They are embarrassingly small things: a string of lights, a photo, a lavender sachet. But they turned a coffin into a room, and a room into something I could call mine. And the difference between a space you sleep in and a space that is yours is the difference between surviving a night and resting through one. But the temperature is not the thing that keeps me awake. The temperature is discomfort. Discomfort I can handle. I grew up watching my mother handle discomfort the way other people handle breathing, automatically, without complaint, as if it were simply the cost of being alive. The thing that keeps me awake is the sound. A truck stop parking lot at night is the loudest quiet place in America. That sentence does not make sense until you have been in one. The engines are the baseline. 70 idling diesels create a low hum that vibrates through the frame of the truck and into the mattress and into your ribs. After a few months, you stop hearing it the way you stop hearing your own heartbeat. It becomes part of you. It becomes the floor of the sound. On top of the floor, there is everything else. Air brakes releasing with a hiss that sounds like a giant snake exhaling. The beeping of a truck backing into a space at 1 a.m. because he just got off the highway and he is 30 minutes past his legal driving limit and he is tired, and his backing skills at 1 a.m. are not what they are at 1 p.m. The slam of a truck door. The rattle of a reefer unit, which is the refrigeration system on a temperature-controlled trailer and which produces a specific high-pitched whine that enters your skull through the temple and stays there like a toothache. And then there are the human sounds: boots on asphalt, voices, a phone conversation in the truck next to you, loud enough to hear the tone but not the words, laughter from across the lot, a cough, a shout, and sometimes, not often, but sometimes, a knock. I want to talk about the knocking because I talked about it briefly in my last video, and I received more messages about that one detail than about anything else I said. The knocking happens at night. It happens after midnight, usually between 1 and 4 a.m. It is a tap on the door or on the window of the cab. Sometimes it is soft, almost polite. Sometimes it is loud enough to shake the mirror. I have been knocked on by people selling things. I have been knocked on by people asking for things. I have been knocked on by people who did not say what they wanted because I did not open the curtain to find out. There is no protocol for the knock. There is no training. In the 4-week CDL school in Columbus, Ohio, where I learned to back a trailer and read an air brake diagram and calculate my hours of service on a logbook, nobody mentioned the knock. Nobody said, "By the way, Jessica, when you are alone in a truck at 2 a.m. and someone taps on your window, here is what you should do." Because the answer they would have had to give me is there is nothing you should do except lie still and wait for it to stop. And it does stop. It always stops. Eventually. The first time it happened to me, I was 22 years old, and I had been solo for 11 days. I was parked at a rest area on I-65 in Alabama. It was a Tuesday in March. I know it was a Tuesday because I had started my week in Ohio on Saturday, and I was tracking the days the way a prisoner tracks days, by crossing them off. The knock came at 2:17 a.m. I know the time because I looked at my phone. 2 taps on the driver's side door. Not hard, not soft. The kind of knock you would use on a hotel room door when you are not sure if the person inside is awake. I froze. I did not move. I did not breathe. I lay in the bunk with the curtain drawn and the dashboard glow leaking through the 4-inch gap at the bottom, and I listened with every cell in my body. My hand was on my phone. My thumb was on the 9. I did not press it. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Then footsteps, moving away, gravel crunching in a pattern that got softer and softer until it disappeared into the baseline hum of the engines. I did not sleep for the rest of the night. I lay there until 5 a.m., and then I got in the driver's seat and I drove. That was 3 years ago. The knocking does not scare me the way it scared me that night. Fear is a muscle, and like every muscle, it either gets stronger or it adapts, and mine adapted. I no longer freeze. I no longer put my thumb on the 9. I lie still and I listen and I wait and it stops. And then I check the time and I calculate how many hours I have until my alarm. And I close my eyes, and sometimes I fall back asleep, and sometimes I do not. And either way, the alarm goes off at 5 and I drive. But I want to be honest with you about something. The adaptation is not the same as the absence. I am not scared the way I was at 22. But I am aware. I am always aware. Every single night, in every single parking lot, in every single state, I am aware that the door is the only thing, and that the door is not much. My mother asked me once on a Sunday phone call what I do before I go to sleep. She was asking about a routine, like, do I brush my teeth? Do I read? Do I watch something on my phone? She was asking the way mothers ask, hoping the answer would sound normal. I told her I brush my teeth. I told her I watch something on my phone until my eyes get heavy. I told her I set my alarm and turn off the overhead light and close my eyes. I want to talk about the good part now, because there is a good part, and I do not want you to leave this video without it. The good part happens at about 5:15 in the morning, 15 minutes after my alarm. I have gotten dressed in the dark. I have put on my boots. I have opened the curtain. I have climbed into the driver's seat, and I look through the windshield at a parking lot that is still mostly dark, and the sky to the east is just beginning to change color. Not sunrise yet, not even close, just the faintest shift from black to dark blue. And the lot is quiet because most of the trucks are still sleeping. And the ones that are awake are pulling out slowly with their headlights on and their air brakes sighing and their turn signals clicking. And I put my hands on the steering wheel, and the wheel is cold, and the seat is cold, and the coffee I made on my 12-volt kettle is hot, and I am alone. And for 10 seconds, before I release the parking brake and pull out of the spot, the aloneness is not the scary kind. It is the other kind. The kind that belongs to me. The kind that says, I am here because I chose to be here. Not because a boss told me to be here. Not because a man told me to be here. Not because my mother's version of survival was the only version available. I am here because 3 years ago, I decided that the risk of the parking lot was worth the freedom of the highway. And every morning at 5:15, when I put my hands on that cold steering wheel, I make that decision again. And every morning, so far, the answer has been the same. There is a woman who messages me after my last video. She is 31. She is in Akron. She has been thinking about getting her CDL for 2 years. She has a 4-year-old daughter. She asked me if it was worth it. I told her the truth. I told her that I have missed Christmases and birthdays and funerals and the phone calls where someone just needed to hear my voice and got my voicemail instead. I told her that I have showered in rooms where the floor was wet before I got there and the lock was loose and the hallway smelled like diesel and sweat. I told her that I have been knocked on, talked at, stared through, and underestimated by men who could not believe a woman was driving the truck they were standing next to. And then I told her that last month I logged into my bank account at a rest area in Pennsylvania, and I saw a number that my mother, in 30 years of working double shifts has never seen in hers. And I sat in the driver's seat and I looked at that number and I cried. Not because of the money, because of what the money meant, which is that the girl from Salem Avenue who used to walk to school in shoes that were too small because there was no money for new ones until January, that girl figured it out. Not perfectly, not safely, not without cost, but she figured it out. That is what I told the woman in Akron. I told her it costs everything and it pays for everything, and those are the same list. There is one more thing I want to say before I turn this off. I have been asked in comments and in messages whether I would do this forever, whether I see myself at 40 years old still sleeping in a Freightliner in a truck stop parking lot, whether there is an exit plan. The honest answer is, I do not know. I know that my body at 26 already feels different than my body at 22. My lower back aches from sitting 11 hours a day in a seat that was designed for someone 6 inches taller than me with 50 more pounds on their frame. My right knee clicks when I climb in and out of the cab, which I do approximately 14 times a day. My eyes are worse at night than they were 2 years ago, and I have not been to an optometrist because my route has not taken me through a city where I could get an appointment on a day when I was not loaded. I know that the women who have been doing this for 15 or 20 years, the ones I have met at fuel islands and driver appreciation events, they have a look. It is not a bad look. It is a specific look. It is the look of someone who has made a deal with a machine and with the road and with the night, and who has kept their end of the deal for so long that the deal has become their face. I do not know if I want that face. I do not know if I have a choice. What I know is that tonight is tonight, and tonight I am in Virginia, and tomorrow I will be in North Carolina, and the day after that I will be wherever the load takes me. And every night between now and whatever comes next, I will run the checklist, and I will check the locks, and I will put the mag light in place, and I will close my eyes, and I will listen to the sound of America sleeping in rows of idling metal, and I will be part of it, and I will be apart from it, and both of those things will be true at the same time. It is 11:48 p.m. now in Virginia. The lot is full, the engines are running, the reefer unit 2 spots over is whining at the exact frequency that makes my left eye twitch. I am going to end this recording. I am going to brush my teeth in a space the size of an airplane bathroom. I am going to check the locks, both of them. I am going to tug the handles. I am going to put the mag light in place. I am going to put my boots by the bed. I am going to angle my phone face down, and then I am going to close my eyes, and I am going to trust the doors and the locks and the checklist and the 3 years and 7 months of nights that have taught me that the knocking stops and the morning comes and the steering wheel is always there waiting for me at 5:15. If you are lying in a truck right now listening to this, you already know everything I just said. You know the sounds, you know the checklist, you know the knock. You know the 10 seconds at 5:15 a.m. when the aloneness shifts from the kind that watches you to the kind that belongs to you. I am not telling you anything new. I am telling you that someone else knows. And sometimes at 2 in the morning in a parking lot in Virginia, that is the only thing that helps you close your eyes. Lock your doors, check them twice. I will see you on the road.